Welcome to Maddog's Herstory. This is a bit different than our normal episodes have been, you've probably noticed. Since the beginning, I knew I wanted to do an episode talking about Indigenous culture, and I wanted to make sure I did that in the most respectful way. And I knew doing it in the traditional way I've been doing these episodes wouldn't work. So I invited a friend of mine here, Tess, and we're going to be actually making bannock and kind of talking about culture and history, and yeah. So, Tess, you can take it away here.
Yeah, like Maddog said, hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Tess. I'm from Onion Lake Cree Nation, Treaty 6 territory. I'd like to humbly acknowledge that we are on the lands of the Tecumseh. I have been residing here for over the last 20 plus years, and a lot of what I learned about bannock was from when we were living in Kamloops and from my grandmother on my dad's side from Lillooet. So it'll be a bit different. I'll kind of talk about the differences in bannock for everybody, but yeah, this is how I was taught, so we'll get to. To start with, I measure with my heart, but I'm gonna try to space this out, so we'll start with flour.
Okay.
The way my mom taught me, it was always like coffee mugs.
Really?
Yeah, no, again, there's never been any measurements, but we've worked it out before.
It's visual.
Yeah. This is 1 cup, so we're gonna do roughly, because a cup is about a coffee mug, we're gonna do about...
That's the thing I've learned now, and I love this.
No, yeah, and that's the thing, where it's like, depending on, it just kind of what you have, what you work with.
Is it like a visual thing?
Yes, for my mom and I, like, she'll look at it and be like, that's enough. Or the consistency of the dough, you just start to learn what works. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even the measurements and stuff, a lot of the people that I've learned from, they never really did measurements. So yeah, but roughly about 2 cups of flour.
Okay. So,
yeah. And then you're gonna take
here too.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't. We'll kind of compensate with the water. So if it's not perfect, that's okay.
Okay.
And then once you get the flour...
I'm making a mess already here.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, this is not a clean process at all. So you're going to take that, make a bit of a well.
Okay, make a bit of a well.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should also probably explain what bannock is while we're getting this all ready.
So bannock was a staple food back in the day. It's traditional food, but it was more so a modern traditional food. Mm. So when they were given rations, it was usually, flour, salt, different things that came with that. And back in the day, it was actually usually put on a stick. Oh. And they would be cooking it over a fire. Because you didn't have oil.
I guess, yeah, you don't really have oil.
You could use animal lard or different things like that, but yeah.
You probably need a lot of it to do that.
Exactly. It was more of a precious item. So yeah, over time, it's kind of been modernized.
Adapted.
Yeah. And then, as another fun fact, you want to pass me the baking powder, please?
Yes.
Depending on where you're from, so in Kamloops, like you had mentioned when we were chatting earlier, it's surrounded by mountains. Yeah. So it was actually very hard to travel by foot to get into this area. So from where I'm from, where we're treaty versus Kamloops, and Kamloops is unceded. Yes. So they never made an agreement. Mm-hmm. So if you go further back east, we would bake our bannock. Okay. So you almost make it like a bread. Yeah. And it would rise in the oven, and it'd be almost like a cupcake texture or like a thicker loaf. Yeah. Versus over here, it's more common. Is it
kind of like when the farther west you go, the more often it's fried kind of thing?
Yeah, and it's the same thing. So when I grew up learning how to make it, I always followed my mom's recipe, but we cooked it the style here. My mom still does it baked. Usually, we go back and forth and kind of discuss which one's better. It depends on who you ask, but everybody makes theirs differently.
Where's her recipe from?
So from her mom, so back east, Onion Lake. So this is another thing. This is visual. So give or take, it's probably about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of baking powder.
So about that?
A little more. Yeah. So I would do about a toonie size in your palm. You see what I mean?
Okay, so maybe a little bit more on that.
Yeah, just a smidge. And so this is going to be...
I got lots of extra, just in case.
Yes. This is going to be the riser.
Okay.
My heart is telling me a bit more. So I'm
I mean, right here, this is where we're talking about the whole visual aspect.
And that's the thing, right? Like, I'm terrible with, so I would do about the same amount in your hand. We're doing 2 cups of flour, so it's a bit more of a bigger batch.
Okay.
So yeah, you want to make sure there's enough baking soda in there to make sure that it rises. That's good.
That's good? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Same thing. And then, it's not a clean process. Okay. And then we'll do the salt.
Okay, salt.
And the same thing. This is to bring out the flavor.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't too, we don't need as much. You don't want it to be too salty.
Yeah.
But same thing, about a tablespoon. Give or take a toonie in the size of your palm. Bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna.
How's that?
A little more.
Well,
I know, this is like.
measure with your heart. Yeah, I get it.
Okay, good.
A little more? Or a little less?
Little less, yeah, sorry. Yeah, that'll be good.
There's a reason, listen, there's a reason I brought the expert in here today.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't done this in a while. This has been nice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
It was, back in the day, it was one of the cheapest things to make. So.
Well, I guess because it's just kind of pantry staples.
Yep. No, exactly. So it was usually something that everybody had, and depending on who you talk to, everybody makes it differently.
Mhm.
So when we were talking about our friends when we make it when we were younger for high school, for fundraisers and stuff, how Dan would do it versus how I did it, I believe he used baking powder versus I used baking soda.
Is that just like a preference thing?
Yeah.
Your own recipe?
So if you can taste the difference, that still has that rising effect, but mine will be a bit more tangy, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Alright. So you're gonna take your dry, mix it all in together.
Okay. So this is just the baking powder, or soda, sorry, I think we use soda.
Yeah.
Baking soda, flour, and salt right now.
And that's all you'll need. Like I said before, everyone makes it differently. So my aunt uses milk for hers. I find that it's too dense and heavy. I like a really fluffy light bannock.
Yeah.
And then the same thing. Some people use water, some people use milk.
Well, I mean, it's this whole thing we're talking about of, like, different ways.
Oh, yeah. And every person you talk to, I think my bannock recipe is the best. Everyone says that, but, everyone's different. I like the tang of the baking soda. That's me. It gets it extra fluffy and crispy. And then, I've never put milk in it because my mom never did. And neither does my grandmother. So, but yeah, depending on who you ask. All right. You're going to take this, and then you're going to make a well again.
Okay. Well again.
And then, as a preference, I always use lukewarm water to mix in.
Okay.
I don't know why. I've just always used warm water. I think it works better. There's been a lot of things in my learning from my mom that she learned from her mom that learned from her mom where there was rationale to it back in the day.
But it's kind of been lost to...
Yeah. So I don't change anything just because...
That's how you were taught.
Yeah, and then that's the thing. So I might not remember why they did it that way, but there's usually a reason. So... Same thing.
It's cool to think though that this is a recipe that's like these style, and like I assume everyone made their own tweaks to it, but that it's been passed down for so long.
Oh yeah, and even that like it's referenced in media, it's passed down in families. Like there's jokes around it. One of my favorite scenes is this movie where he lifts Thomas is this great storyteller. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to mention the movie. But Thomas is this great storyteller, and he's this character in this movie, and he talks about his mom being the best bannock maker in the reserve, and he tells the story about there wasn't enough bannock to go around, and his mom lifted the bannock over her head, she ripped it in half, and it's even like shirts and like stickers, like it's such a staple. It's in everything.
Just growing up in Kamloops here, because we have the Secwepemc Kamloops band so close to us, like, it was always, like, we'd go to events, like, we'd go to, like, the Adams River Salmon Run, or, like, we had the power, like, bannock was always just, like, oh yeah, like, we gotta go have bannock.
It always makes me laugh, too, because it's to me, it's one of the easiest things to make.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I'm actually really excited to teach you this. Cause
I'm excited to learn, yeah.
It's fun, it's something to do. Alright, and the same thing, I measure with my heart, so because...
It's the best kind of measuring.
So because we have 2 cups of flour, I'm going to go roughly about a cup of water. You're going to mix it in slow. Actually, I would always help my mom. So can you pour it in very slowly, and I'll mix, and I'll tell you when. So the same thing, You want a wet potato kind of, or wet Play-Doh texture. Keep going. Keep going. Oops.
You threw me when you said potato there, and I'm like, am I missing something?
Good.
Oh, good.
Just hold on. A little more. You might have to get yourself some more water. Keep going. Good.
Good.
Yeah. So like I said before, like a wet Play-Doh kind of a texture. Play-Doh itself is too dry.
Yeah.
So you want like, a wet Play-Doh.
Okay.
And then, so
I like that you would, you would have someone else pour it for you. I like that, so then you get to do all the mixing.
Well, and that's the thing. You kind of, it's hard to do and eyeball it at the same time. You can do it yourself.
Yeah.
But in saying that, even this. So this isn't quite the texture I want. This is a little too wet.
Okay.
So if you pass me the flour.
Yep.
Even that, it's easy to correct. You can always add a little bit more. And then even still, once we go into it, we're gonna coat the table so it doesn't stick.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna put a little bit more in here just to get the texture we want so I can show you.
Just kind of the rough eyeball of years of practice, I imagine.
That's the thing where I'm terrible with measurements. I can't explain it. I've tried to write it down.
It comes with, you've just made it so many times.
That at this point, it's just, So this is the texture you want.
Okay.
Where it's a little wet, but not too wet. It sticks to the side just barely. And so we're going to go like that, and that'll be good for now.
So now now it's my turn to try this out here.
All right. So I'm going to pour really
We're
slowly.
just going to mix this?
Yeah, just keep stirring. I'll probably stop because I'll know the texture for you.
Yes, please.
And keep going. And just like bread, you don't want to play with it too much because it'll get tougher. Okay.
Okay, so just try to get this all in here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's kind of coming together.
Yeah, so even this texture would be okay.
Yeah.
You just pull it out. You mix all the, hold on, too much mixing? There you go. You wouldn't want it to get too dry because then it's harder to mix the water in. So it all has to be one. That's why you keep stirring and somebody else pours. So that's actually a better texture than mine. That's perfect.
Should I scrape this off or just?
Take as much as you can out of the bowl.
Okay.
First, we're going to take the flour. And then you're going to give a very good, healthy dose of flour at the bottom because this will.
That's sticky,
Yeah, you'll make sure it doesn't stick to anything. There you go. And then, same thing, go underneath. You have a better texture than I do right now, so I needed a little bit more flour just to dry it out.
Well, you're practicing, that's why, because you're mine was the second round, that's why.
Yeah. Well, it has. It's been a while. I'm actually really excited for this season. Yeah. And then
right on. This the whole thing?
Yep.
I got a little bit of extra on the bowl here.
That's okay.
So, do you remember the first time you ever made bannock?
No.
It's just kind of always been a thing?
Yep. When I was growing up, I was always in the kitchen with my mom, and she was always in the kitchen with hers.
Yeah.
As I've realized as I get older, I show people that I care for them through my food.
Mm-hmm.
I've realized that if someone refuses food, then I even get a little weird. I'm like, why don't you like my food?
Why don't you want my cooking?
Exactly. But no, I genuinely cannot remember when my mom taught me. It
just was taught.
Yeah. Ever since I was 3 years old, I would stand next to her and she'd be working in the kitchen, and this would always be, I'd be her helper.
Yeah.
I'd be the one.
Yeah,
just a little bit. Just a smidge. Perfect.
Good.
Yeah, you don't need as much as I did.
Okay.
But I would sit there, and so you're gonna fold it.
Okay.
Grab it from the edge, push it in.
Okay.
And we're not gonna play with it too much. You're just
the hardest thing because I gotta say it's a very fun texture.
It is. It's like Play-Doh. But even that, when I was younger, I would play with it too much, or my mom would say, "Hey, settle down," because you do. You have to be careful as you play with it because you want that flour folded in. You want the right texture.
Because it is dough.
Yep. But it's a bit more forgiving than bread dough, but it's still, you have to be cautious.
Yeah.
we're gonna keep going.
Okay.
I'd maybe fold yours once or twice more, and then give me a chance to look at it.
Okay, just fold it like that,
Yeah.
and then...
Because you wanna...
Play with it so bad.
I know! Don't play with it too... Perfect.
Good.
So you wanna fold it up until that stickiness is almost gone.
So you can like touch it and it's not sticking to your
Exactly.
fingertips.
Perfect. So, like I said before,
Some
mine
little
was a...
section that is, but like not much.
If you can press your finger in it in the middle, there's no stickiness, you're good. Yeah.
Bounces back. Boop. Nice.
Perfect. So yeah, this is what you're gonna want to do, and then the same thing once we spread it out and cut it.
Yeah.
Then that dryness will still be throughout, consistently.
Okay.
But the way I learned to do this, I just watched my mom. She never measured. She never did anything, and with most Aboriginals, you don't learn how to do something unless you ask or you see it done.
Yeah.
So for a traditional protocol is when you ask for information or if you exchange information or you ask for something, it's common practice to give something in exchange.
Okay.
Or to give something in exchange, trading.
Yeah.
So the way my mom has always described it is you give something to you the equivalent value.
Okay.
So you've invited me into your home, you've given me coffee, you've given me hospitality, you've given me snacks, we're making food together.
Yeah.
So I can give you the information of my food.
Okay.
So, but that's how my mom's always taught me. So
Yeah.
equivalent exchange, what does this mean to you? And you give that back.
Oh, I like that. I enjoy. I honestly just love that this is just doing this together too.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite things of this is that it's something you can do together. So
Well, that was a huge thing of how I grew up. So whether we were in important scenarios or funerals or celebrations of life, birthdays, my favorite thing is sitting with my mom or my grandmother or my aunts, and you sit there and you talk and you giggle and you laugh and you cook together.
yeah.
It was always a bonding experience. It was also a social experience. Even now, my mom and I will sit there and cook together.
Yeah.
And we talk the most when we're cooking.
I think there's something always to be said for cooking together. Like you mentioned earlier that like it's your love language to to feed people. Like I love cooking with people. I've done the same thing. I love to feed people, but I love sharing stuff. And I think just food is, I mean, it's such a part of life, but there's such enjoyment in it.
Well, even when you do any type of ceremony, or if you have even meetings or any type of gathering of Aboriginal people, there's usually food provided because it's just
What you do.
it's a way to bond, it's a way to show respect, it's part of life. Everyone needs and wants food.
Yeah.
It makes you happy. So alright. So now the texture is where we need it. Your finger, you push into it, it bounces back a bit. There's no wet spots. So what we're going to do is we're going to flatten it out.
Okay.
And this is the same thing. There's no specific size. How big of a piece
Should I
do
put
you
a bit
want?
on top if it's a bit sticky?
Yeah. You may... This is the thing where you don't want to play with it too much. But yeah, just keep it dusting just so that stickiness stays away. But you don't want to fold it anymore.
Okay.
And so you're going to flatten out a section. And then at my cutter... And you're going to flatten thin as possible.
Oh, as possible. Okay.
Well, as thin as you want to make it. Because the thicker it is, once you cook it, it'll expand. And you want it to be thin enough that the dough cooks.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, oh darn, I have to have like nice thick bannock. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
You don't want it too thick. Not thick with 3 C's. But yeah, so flatten it out, cut it.
Okay.
Give
Is
or
this
take.
flat enough, or should I go a bit more?
Thickness,
Preference?
Yep. It's whatever you feel in your heart. And then you'll see too, once we cook it, you'll see the difference if it does get a little thicker. And it's okay. It's okay. So cut off of roughly the piece size that you want.
And then you cut it in half then?
It depends. So is that big enough for you? Do you want a long one? Do you want a short
I'll
one?
probably do a short one just to...
Okay. And the same thing, flatten them out just a little bit. Spread them with your fingers. Take your fork.
Take my fork. Yep.
Stab them a couple times.
Just... Is that just to help it kind of cook through?
Yeah,
or-
so the same thing. It'll give a point where the oil can go through, and it'll just be able to cook that much better.
Yeah.
Alright. And then if you want, we can keep cutting.
Okay.
We'll get everything prepped, and then we'll move off to the oil.
Okay.
So I did this off camera, but what you'll want to do is have a pot of canola oil. You can use different lards, never olive oil, just because it's a higher burning temperature. Canola is probably the best. Give or take, you want about 2.5 inches of oil. It depends though. You just want enough oil so that your bread will be floating over top. So it comes down to the thickness of the bread, how thick you make it, how deep the oil is. As long as it's not touching the bottom of the pan, you're fine.
Is that just because you don't want it to burn kind of thing?
Yeah, so even that too. So I learned how to make bannock from my mom and my grandmother.
Yeah.
But on my dad's side, she would, and this is the difference, and I don't know, she's since passed away, but she would only fill her frying pan with a little bit of oil.
Really?
Yep. So she wouldn't deep fry it. She'd fry it, but it wouldn't be deep fried.
So it's that whole thing, right? I mean, just right there, it's two sides of the family, totally different ways of doing it.
Exactly, and that's the same thing. So on my dad's side, they're from the West Coast versus we're from the interior of Canada. And depending on where you go, which nation it is, which area, everyone's, a little different. And then what you have available to you too.
Yeah.
So,
Because we kind of joked about that earlier, is like the pantry staples. Like this is, I mean, we have got all of this. The most that I've had to do is just oil, just because of the amount of oil we needed. But like, I've had salts, I have baking soda, I have flour. Like that's, yeah, it really is just pantry staples.
Yep, and that was the thing too. So with just a little bit of cheap recipe items like flour or salt, it's easy to get your hands on. It was cheaper back. It's just as cheap now, but it was enough, and you could make a big batch. So
yeah.
Each one of us is probably going to get at least 10 pieces.
I mean, and that's wild. This is just like 2 cups of flour. Wow. Give or take.
Yep, and it could feed a lot of people, and it makes, a lot of people happy. You could mix it, like I've mentioned before, you could make a very savory meal, Indian tacos. You dress it the same way you would a taco. You've got beef, salsa, sour cream, whatever your heart content to put onto it. And then you can go the opposite way, or you can do dessert bannock. My mom and I'll do cinnamon sugar.
Oh.
And so after you deep fry it, while it's still wet from the oil, you cover it in cinnamon sugar.
That sounds delicious.
There's a business around town that they do dessert bannock, so they'll almost dress it like a donut.
Ooh.
In the past, my mom and I have done circular pieces of bannock, so you have to be careful. Like I said earlier, it's still a type of bread, and you have to handle it as such. Be delicate. Don't knead it too much. Don't fold it too much. You still want that softness and that rise.
Yeah.
And that's why we only folded it so much, and then you flatten it out, and you don't touch it. You don't keep mixing, even if it's a little wet. You kind of just dust it.
I keep having to stop myself from going, like, it doesn't look, it's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah. But even that...
The perfectionist in me is like, I need to fix it.
You kind